This is John Dawson of Patio Daddy-O Barbecue in Boise, Idaho, and I've got it locked on the 50,000 gigawatt blowtorch of the internet that is Barbecue Central.
Start the game! Let's go!
We'll do it live. Okay. Well, do it live! I'll write it and we'll do it live!
So to get that perfect barbecue, you use wood. Are you sure it's safe? Whatever. We put the lighter fluid on, strike the match, and... Oh! Should we call the fire department? That might be a good idea.
Good evening, and welcome to the Really Big Barbecue Central Show. A show that talks about all things important to the world of barbecue and grilling, originating from the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame city of Cleveland, Ohio, the social distancing capital of the North Coast. I am your program host, Greg Rempe. Happy to have you aboard here on your Tuesday evening. If you want to jump in on the night, this is the night. Corona has taken full control. You want to get in on the phones or the email, here's how you do it.
You can get in touch with the show by calling 216-220-0966. Email Greg at the bbqcentralshow.com. On the Twitter and Instagrams at BBQ Central Show.
Anything else you want to find out about the show can be found at the main website, thebbqcentralshow.com. And here's what's happening. Coming up in about 12 minutes from now, he is a longtime friend of the show. He is a show legend. I might even say that as we reintroduce him here in about 12 minutes from now. He is the marketing director for Traeger Grills, pitmaster for a then Whiskey Bent Barbecue team, now owner of Whiskey Bent Barbecue Supply, amongst many other titles and hats and responsibilities. Without any further talking, we will refire with Chad Ward. It's been well over a year at least since Chadley Von Ward has strolled back into the Barbecue Central Show jungle, but we are happy to have him. Remind him of what a real talk show that broadcasts globally sounds like, looks like, and acts like. Not like the JV Dan Patrick show that he's used to hanging out on. We step it up here. We're not FCC regulated, and we are straight fire when it comes to the barbecue and grilling talk. And quite frankly, there's way more barbecue and grilling talk than there is sports talk right now. So this is the premier spot to go for that. Undoubtedly, unquestionably, the leader of the live fire barbecue and grilling talk right here on this show. We got him for the first hour, believe it or not. Very busy guy, but of course, like most folks, things have changed as far as the travel goes. So I have him locked down right now, and we'll take full advantage. Chad Ward in the first hour. Then we'll move to the second hour, and we will find perhaps a pair, at least one of the co-founders, writers of something called The Smoke Sheet. I talk about it here each and every week, right towards the end of the show. For sure, we have Sean Ludwig, NYC BBQ, on the Instas. We may or may not have Ryan Cooper, a.k.a. Barbecue Tourist, on the Instas. Depends how Ryan is feeling. We'll get into that a little bit more as it dictates. But undoubtedly, Sean Ludwig, The Smoke Sheet, is locked down for the 14 past second hour. And then we will go to the bullpen and close it out with longtime sponsor of the show, one of the premier pitmasters over the last 10 years. He is a American Royal World Champion. Sterling Ball from Big Papa Smokers closes it out. And while we may touch from a very high level on the competition stuff, much different tonight, we're going to be talking a lot about business. We're going to be talking a lot about music. We're going to be talking a lot about cooking for yourself. Aside from the competition stuff that everybody knows Sterling from, he's also a very prolific restaurant cook. He's also a very prolific home cook. So we'll be talking a lot about that because, hey, we're all kind of trapped in that situation right now where we're not really going out as much as we used to. Maybe we're picking some things up to take back home, but a lot of us are going through the refrigerators, the freezers, and what I have found to be a great learning lesson over these past couple weeks is our food waste is almost zero, and we are pounding through the cabinets and freezers and refrigerators and making sure nothing is going to waste because, quite frankly, nobody wants to get outside and go to the freaking grocery store because unless I'm missing something, the majority of the general public thinks this is all bullshit. And they're just going to go on their merry way and be within 6 feet of each other in groups. It doesn't matter. I'm seeing it across the age groups. It's frightening. I don't want to be caught up in it. I have transitioned to home unless absolutely necessary, and I sure as hell don't want to go to the grocery store unless it's absolutely necessary. And picking up is days and days away, but we're making do. So that's what we have going on this show. Chad Ward, first hour. Sean Ludwig, perhaps Ryan Cooper, 14 past the second hour. Sterling Ball to close out the show, 216-220-0966. Greg at thebbqcentralshow.com if you want to get at me from there. Follow me socially at BBQ Central Show on Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, TikTok /BBQ Central Show on Facebook, where there's also a live video feed. As I review emails from last week, and might I remind you what a tizzy we had in the second hour. By the way, I totally forgot. Top of the second hour, we will have the Barbecue Central Show's American Idol reveal portion. We'll load in the expert judges. We'll play some snippets of the song that four of us gave our hand at last week. We will tell you who the three singers are moving to April, and we will tell you who was eliminated through the week-long vote. And we got a better turnout than I thought. I always hope for more. I hope thousands upon thousands. That wasn't the case, but it was definitely towards 100, which I'll take. And there was a runaway winner. The middle was a little murky. Actually, the middle was more of the runaway by itself, and then the bottom was a little bit more closely contended. So we will announce at the top of the second hour who makes it into the April rendition of American Idol Barbecue Central Show edition. There you go. Now, to that end, emails flying in over the past week. Here's just a sampling of the singing feedback emails. Mike in Pennsylvania wrote, 1 bad singer is bad. 4 bad singers is murder on my ears. Please stop. Mike, was it that bad? It wasn't all bad. Timmy in Missouri. Timmy, I hope you're 15 still, because if you're 18 and you're still going by Timmy, that's weird. Timmy in Missouri writes, Doug was great. Greg was produced, and the other two were forgettable. The bit, however, is genius. Keep singing. Thank you, Tim. Chuck from South Carolina. John was the best. Ricer, a close second. Sorry, Greg and Doug. I would vote both of you off right now if I could. Damn, Chuck. I thought at worst we were all close. Not according to Chuck. Everybody's got an opinion. That's fine. Andy in Indiana. Greg, all of Thin Lizzy just rolled over in their graves. Wow. Andy, I'm no Thin Lizzy super fan, but I think all of the members, aside from Phil Lynott, are actually living. So there can only be really one rolling member in their grave. That would be Phil, of course. But thanks for listening anyway, dummy. Bill in Florida, forget the singers, if that's what you call yourselves. Greg, your daughters are stealing the show. More of them isn't a bad thing. That's why they'll be back at the top of the second hour as we re-pick their brains on what their thoughts were. Remember, America voted. The judges did not vote. We could have made it like some of those other game shows where the judges get to vote one last, or there was no tiebreak. Whatever, it doesn't matter. Also, there was this.
A Barbecue Central Show exclusive news update.
All right, now I have to... Oh, my God, I'm never going to find this. Oh, dear. Well, if you didn't see it, earlier there was a announcement made by Pit Barrel Cooker as a little news update, if you will, just released through press release, that the Glanvilles, not Pit Barrel Cooker, now they own Pit Barrel Cooker, but there's a separate company, but the Glanvilles, Noah and Amber, the Glanvilles, have acquired Barrel House Cookers. How about that? Now, I'm sure there's a much wider story. The press release was pretty high level. So I'm working on getting Noah in for a bonus content because we're jammed up on the show here over the next handful of weeks, and I don't want to lose it on my radar. But the Glanvilles have acquired Barrel House Cooker. Interesting story. Little late breaking news. We're going to get to Chad Ward coming up out of this break. But first, I'll talk to you about Green Mountain Grill, some of the best pellet cookers out there on the market today. That's right. 2 different lines to choose from. The Choice line that started it all. If you want to save a couple bucks, you're not going to sacrifice space. A little bit of build quality, a little bit of tech. Not Wi-Fi capable on the Choice line, but if that doesn't matter to you, it really doesn't matter to me. Good space. The Jim Bowie and the Daniel Boone accommodate the pizza oven that I talk about. Now, if you want to spend a couple extra bucks, a little bit of a sturdier chassis, more robust, you get the Wi-Fi along with the Prime line. You also get peek-in windows on the cooking chamber and the pellet hopper, 2 internal meat probes for your liking. It has the 12-volt direct power technology that was originally sourced out on the Davy Crockett. That's the mobile version, or tailgate version. So if you want to take it to... I don't even know where the hell you can take it anymore. If you want to take it out in the backyard legally, you can do it. Hook it up to a battery. It comes with the little clamps, so you can hook it up to a battery and run it that way. You can run it through power. Doesn't matter, but that's where the 12-volt technology originally came from. And they're selling through dealers, so they teach their dealers. The dealers teach you, the end user. You have a successful time with the product when you get it home because you're fully educated on how it runs and operates, so you're ready to go. GreenMountainGrills.com is the website. They have a bunch of different accessories to choose from. They have pellets also. Check them out, why don't you? GreenMountainGrills.com. The Heat Exchange on the west side of Cleveland is my local dealer, so if you're around the greater Cleveland area looking for a Green Mountain Grill dealer, Heat Exchange out there on the west side, Lorraine Road, I think it is. Chad Ward from Traeger coming up. Stick around. We'll be right back.
Broadcasting live from the Barbecue Central Show studios in Cleveland, Ohio. You're listening to the Barbecue Central Show. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
Hey, welcome back. This portion of the show being brought to you by Butcher Barbecue, makers of award-winning injections, marinades, rubs, seasonings, barbecue sauces, grilling oils. All the Butcher Barbecue products have been tested on the competition circuit as well as in backyards worldwide. Be the pitmaster of your neighborhood and visit butcherbbq.com to stock up now. Always trust your butcher. All right, joining me now, a man who really needs no introduction, Director of Marketing for the barbecue division for Traeger Grills, a competitive barbecue cook, the owner of Whiskey Bent Barbecue Supply. Here to talk about all of that. But more importantly, rejoining the show after a long furlough, Chad Ward. Chadley, what up?
Hey, what's up, Greg? Good to be back, buddy.
I'm so excited to have you back in the fold here, back in the Barbecue Central Show jungle. Plenty of stuff to talk about here. Man, man, I'm trying to figure out where we want to run. First things first, a couple weeks ago, and I'd had a couple interviews here over the last couple weeks as it drew to a close rather abruptly, was the 2020 HPBA. It was down in New Orleans this year. I remember going when it was in its second year in Atlanta, the year that the Timberline was being introduced, actually. And that was the last time I went to one of those. And then I think it went to, I don't know if it went to Dallas or something like that the year after that. But then it has been in New Orleans, at least for this year. Maybe it's been on its second year. Did Traeger attend that, or is that not your alley?
We didn't have that one on the schedule for this year, so it really didn't impact us too much. We got to where we really invest a lot in the ACE shows and some of those instead of the more industry type ones.
So what isn't attractive about that kind of a show versus something that you find a little bit more worthwhile?
We had just seen the attendance drop a bit, and for us, actually, since we have a lot of direct sales as far as sales territory techs and territory managers, we get to see our dealers a lot. So it was just one more show where we weren't seeing a lot of dealer participation. I just thought we'd put those funds somewhere else.
Now, you look at it rolling in advance, so there were Traeger doesn't show. I believe there were 3 or 4 other of, I guess, what you would call a premier line that ends up pulling out either right before the show starts or a little bit more in advance like you guys did. But that show ends pretty abruptly. I believe Saturday at noon they were shooing everybody home because of the coronavirus that was making its way through the country. As this thing started to take over and as we kind of transitioned a little bit into the COVID-19, was this on your radar like weeks in advance? I mean, I know you do a tremendous amount of traveling, or were you pretty much up to speed where the rest of us were?
Kind of right there with everybody else. We had a really big ambassador event planned at Traeger for headquarters on the 19th. And so we kind of pulled the plug on that maybe about a week out, week to 10 days out. So that for us was a big one, but I kind of learned about it with everybody else. And I think I was booked up to travel the next 3 weeks straight. And now I'm here. So
is that
it's been a good break.
Is that the executive direction from Traeger right now, is for you guys that are typically travelers or road warriors to just hang it up at home at the moment and work remotely?
Yes. So we've shut our office down. Everybody's working remote for the next couple of weeks. No travel notice as far as if you want to travel, it's got to be CEO approved. And so I don't see that happening. So yeah, they've taken it really, really serious. And it's good to work for a company that's taking it, that well.
So pull the corporate side out, and Chad Ward can talk now. What's your take on this whole thing? Do you think that a lot of people are taking this not as seriously as it needs to be, or at least what's the temperature where you're at?
Well, Florida is just friggin'. I would say we're one of the worst states to respond to it. I mean, we had a guy Sunday that had 600 people come to his mega church. You know what I mean? So he was arrested, which was great. But for me, I think, I really wasn't that worried about it until I watched a podcast that Rogan did with one of the infectious disease experts, and that kind of scared me. So I've tried to stick to the rules. I'll still go out and get groceries if I have to or whatever, but definitely trying to flatten the curve, if you will, in my opinion.
I've had a number of discussions with some people that are restaurateurs or in the food business in some peripheral way. They're obviously being affected to a great amount. Is Traeger being affected to a large degree, or how are you able, if at all possible, are you able to shield that from taking effect?
Well, what we've seen is, we're still having really good numbers. And pellet sales are through the roof, obviously, because people are wanting to cook, wanting to do that kind of thing. So good pellet sales, accessories, rubs, that kind of stuff. I think people are equipping so they can cook and enjoy it at home. And then I'm seeing kind of the same thing on my end from, being a retailer myself.
Yeah, so I was going to ask you, outside of Traeger, you also have owned Whiskey Bent Barbecue Supply. Are you open for business from an online surface, or is the brick and mortar an essential service and you guys are able to, stick one person in there and let some people come in and shop?
Yeah, so we're open in the brick and mortar also, and that's exactly what we've been doing. We have one person work, and then people can come in and do their thing, and that's up probably about 20-25% year over year right now. And then online has been super crazy. Almost like triple digit growth in the amount of rubs that we've moved through this compared to last year.
So is that rubs in general or your specific rubs?
Our specific whiskey bent rubs, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So is it safe for you to have the retail portion open? Are they able to control how many people are coming in, or is it not a situation where you're having 30 or 40 people come in to grab barbecue related stuff?
You really don't. If you ever look at kind of our customer traffic, it's you don't, unless you're doing on like a weekend during the summer, something like that, where you could end up having 20, 30 people in there at the same time. We don't run too much of an issue of social distancing. So it just worked pretty smooth. I think once we had a couple people kind of come in at the same time and they just asked them to, stand back for a second, everybody's fine.
Chad Ward joining me here on the show, the pitmaster of Whiskey Bed Barbecue, also director of marketing for Traeger Grills, TraegerGrills.com, the website, of course. You had mentioned the whiskey bent rubs, and I know this is something that you had brought out, and it's not like it was 10 years ago or 12 years ago when the barbecue rub market was a little less populated and it was a lot easier to stand out, especially if you had a good product. It's pretty popular now. A lot of people have rubs coming out. So do you find the success? Certainly you have great rubs, you've had success, blah, blah, blah. I get all that. But do you find it surprising that you have had as much sex with as much sex as you've had? Have you with as much success as you've had with the rubs?
It's pretty humbling. And I think the one thing that's so different now than 10, 12 years ago with the rub game is social media. I mean, you put a good product out there, you get it in people's hands, and then they end up being your best salespeople. Word of mouth still so powerful, but just social media makes that, your mouth so much more extendable as far as sharing the word. So for us, we just kind of stayed on top of it, really paid attention to the quality. We've got a great co-packer we work with down here that's, only about 45 minutes away. And just, we've got 6 in the line now. We'll probably roll another 1 or 2 out this year. And it's just a lot of fun, man. And it's all the stuff that I used, when I was competing pretty heavily and had really good results with.
When you're dealing with a co-packer, was that in the beginning? Did you roll with the same one that you're rolling with now, or have you had some changes over time?
No, this is the same one. So actually a really cool story. We were doing an event at the store, and Greg came up. That's my co-packer, Greg Watkins. And Greg brought me a present, and I opened it up, and it was some rubs. And he said, remember we started working on these? He's like, I think we're pretty close. If you could give me, a couple of weeks with you, we can get this thing figured out, I think. And sure enough, that's kind of how it kicked off. So we've been over there with Sauceology and St. Pete the whole time, and hope to continue way down the line with them.
Chad Ward joining me here on the show. Cooking-wise, because a lot of people are inside more than they have been in recent memory, are you getting hit up all the time on social media now, or if people will see you out and saying, hey, what should I make for dinner tonight, or what are you making for dinner tonight? What tips do you have?
Yeah, so you'll get I get a lot of direct messages that people are like, hey, how you doing? You got any ideas of what I could cook, this and that. I think, this is the time where if you want to get into, some bigger cuts, beef ribs, brisket, you got the whole family there. And it's not like you've got a time constraint, so you can really, work on it and then obviously put that vacuum pack and eat on it for a couple of days, whatever you want to do. But I do think, brisket's a fun one to cook. And then obviously you're trying to feed, as many people as you can for a, relatively modest budget.
Do you foresee resuming normal business activities within the next couple months, or how does what is your edict to the barbecue supply store, and then what is Traeger's edict down to you guys?
So for me on the barbecue supply store, if we were to go into a shutdown here, we are labeled an essential business because we're in the food business. So I think we would just play that by ear, and it'd be really more focused on what my employees thought about it and their health. So I would, I'm really kind of hoping, for me personally, we kind of see the start to turn in June. At the latest. That's my personal opinion. I just worry about it from a global economic impact across our whole economy. And then as far as Traeger, they've told us to tentatively not plan to travel through the end of June, but obviously that's got air quotes around it depending on, what we learn and how this thing progresses.
How big of a culture shock is this for you? I mean, I know you are used to running it hard. So to be grounded right now has to be some kind of change.
Yeah, it's a really big change. It's been different for me. I was looking back. I think this is the first time I've been home 3 weeks straight in over a decade. So even going all the way back to my software business days.
Wow.
So it's really been a shock. It was really I would say I was in a bit of a funk probably until kind of this Monday, and I was like, you know what, man, we're gonna have this thing for a while. Yeah, it's altered all of our lives. Yeah, it sucks, but no reason to be in a crappy, shitty mood about it. Snap out of it and go start doing some productive stuff. So I got a couple of things I'm interested in doing. Got some projects around the house, and then obviously we're still continuing to work virtually from our homes. So gonna make the best out of it, man.
Do I hear a reprise of the Whiskey Bent Barbecue radio show? Do I hear that?
Yeah, I'm thinking about it, and then just for the heck of it, to keep my sanity, and then I think also I just ordered a bunch of equipment. I'm going to really start working on my YouTube channel as far as getting some videos up and things like that.
Do you think that we're going to see? Let me talk to the marketer of the person here. Do you think that we're going to see an onslaught of podcasts and YouTube channel stuff, and then in 2 or 3 months it's going to nosedive like the Hindenburg because everybody might be back to normal?
I think it will. That's why kind of my thought process is, at least on the YouTube video side, is to bank a lot of content so that you can have a once a week or twice a week release. But I think that will happen. I think people will get bored, people will pick up new things, and then life will get back to normal, and people are going to kind of throw those Rona hobbies away.
Let's talk pellet cookers. Traeger continues to be the biggest name in the pellet cooker market by far. Just high level right now. At the turn of the year, many live fire experts and myself said that 2020 was going to be the year that the term pellet cooker made its way into the lexicon of every home. It would be recognized. People would talk about it like gas or charcoal. How do you see that?
Yeah, I mean, we in our research, we see every year where we're getting more and more brand awareness. I think it continues to happen this year because it's interesting when, having been around pellet cookers for a while, people are just so much more knowledgeable about them now as far as the general public. So I think we're going to continue to see that trend. I'm going to tell you, I mean, for the industry, it's obviously the biggest growth area. And the thing is, when you look at the research that we've done, I mean, you're talking about there's not even a pellet grill in 1% of backyards. So the growth opportunity is ridiculously big.
So the follow-up question is, how do you get into 5%? Let's not even talk 25 or 30%. Let's talk about 5%. If it's 1% of all, how do you continue to get through to that market?
Well, for us, we've always been big on digital marketing. So that's kind of one of the areas we'll continue to look at. And then also we try to find these groups where it just makes sense. Like we've done really well with like the CrossFit community and the fitness community. And so we try to find those people, those lifestyles where we can, introduce them to the product and then let them go out there and share it with others.
Why does it make sense for the CrossFit community, for instance? Like why do they pick it up?
So they like it because they do a lot of meal prep, and it kind of seems like the Pro 780 that they like that they're eating clean, they're natural wood fire, and they're easy to operate. So they love being able to go out there and throw 20 pounds of chicken breast on it and one shot and be done with it and have something tasty throughout the week.
So it's more for flavor. I mean, obviously cooking with pure wood ain't making anybody skinny.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, nice. So There are plenty of options, as we've talked about. I think the last number I heard, you could probably correct me if this is incorrect, but like 24 different pellet makers out there on the market currently. Does that seem about right?
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, that's about right.
All right, so let's talk about the entrance by Weber physically earlier this year, and I'm sure like everyone, Traeger sees the hype coming. It was like end of October, beginning of November of 2019. The year turns, they start shipping, and then depending on who you ask, the Weber product is the best thing ever, or the Weber product is the worst thing ever. From a company perspective, as a guy who deals with pellet cookers day in and day out, you are the leader in the industry right now. You have a marketing background working with you. How did you see Weber coming into the market, and were you surprised with what they pushed out?
Yeah, I was. I mean, I full disclosure, I haven't cooked on one. I've seen them at retailers and looked at them. And for me, the big part that I was concerned about, just being around pellet grills and understanding grease fires and drip trays and, you know, why we build things the way we build them. I was really surprised at the grease collection system and the flavorizer bars. I mean, to me, that was just like, wow, you may be asking for a whole lot of headache here. So that to me was, you know, what I took from it. And then obviously, I mean, we saw what came out, you know, with some of their ambassadors, et cetera, and some of the videos. And then they ask you to put a 50-cent disposable pan in your new $1,200 grill, which really didn't have a good look to it either.
Is it a double-edged sword having this much access to being able to everybody to put whatever they think out there on the internet, or do you have to know as a company that you got to have all the ducks in a row and you have to account for any type of potential slip up because it's going to get out there, and inevitably the bad is always going to out-heat the good?
Yes, it always will. And I think it's just something, it's the world we live in now. It's the nature that we live in. For us, I mean, we do robust alpha and beta testing, not just to our employees, but to our ambassadors also, sign confidentiality agreements. We like to get grills in real users' hands because that allows us to go ahead and try to weed out any of these issues that we're going to have before we actually launch it in production. And from hearing some back channel story, I don't know that I think they kept all their testing internally, which to me I think can be it's a lot better to get it out there, get it to the community, and have them beat up on it so that you can really see what it looks like.
Do you think from a concept with the flavorizer bars and the overall market of, hey, this is a good low and slow, but you're also going to be able to ramp it up and get a true grilling experience, good in concept, or are there cookers out there holding Weber Smokefire aside that can actually do that? Because when I think of pellet cooker, I never think about, boy, am I going to get a great sear when I use this. I will go to my grill and use my grill.
Right. No, I think the concept was there. I think you hit on exactly what they were going for. Just how you design to that without running into, some of the risks that they've had with the grease fires, et cetera. It's a tough thing. Believe me, all of us in the pellet business, if we could cook it 165 one day and it's 700 the next day and it'd be perfectly safe with no grease fires, we'd all designed our grills that way. You know what I mean? There's just some things that you have to do, that compromise on that top end heat a little bit.
All right, Chad Ward joining me here on the show. Chad, can I hold you over for the second segment? We'll talk a little bit more about tech and pellet cookers and then some competition stuff.
Greg, it would be a damn honor, friend.
Damn right it would be. All right, stand by. Chad Ward right here on the show, if you can believe it. He's made it back into the Barbecue Central Show jungle. I'll talk to you quickly about Southside Market and Barbecue before we get back with him. Established in 1882, Southside, the oldest barbecue joint in Texas. They've been owned and operated by the same family for 3 generations. They offer premium Central Texas barbecue products, slow smoked over real wood, shipping, distributing, manufacturing sausages for companies across the U.S., from food trucks to multi-chain restaurants. Southside sausage can be on your menu too. All meats processed in the on-site USD inspected facility. A trusted partner with a focus on quality and, most importantly, authenticity. Wholesale options available, shipping nationwide via the FedEx, food service distribution channels as well, like Cisco, U.S. Foods, and Martin Foods. Co-packaging capable from research and development to package completion. They can follow your recipe or help you develop something brand new from scratch. Private label opportunities also available. Visit SouthsideMarket.com for more information. While you're there, as you load up the shopping cart full of sausage slammers and beef sausage, jalapeno cheddar sausage, the list goes on. Use the promo code BBQ Central, all one word and lowercase, to get 10% off your entire order. That's promo code BBQ Central when you're at SouthsideMarket.com. It's good for the first order and the 10th order and the 710th order. BBQ Central, 10% off. And we're back with Chad Ward right after this. Stick around, be right back.
Howard Stern, Jim Rome, Dan Patrick, and Greg Rempe. The Mountain Rushmore of talk show entertainment. Now, let's get back to the Barbecue Central Show.
And this portion of the show being brought to you by cookinpellets.com, your number one source for quality wood pellets for all your pellet-driven cookers. You visit cookinpellets.com for more information. You can purchase there, or if you prefer, Amazon.com. Open for business. You can buy them there as well. It's cookinpellets.com. And we're rejoined by Chad Ward from Whiskey Bent Barbecue, Traeger Grills. The list goes on. All right, Chad, so appreciate you hanging with me through the break there. When we talk about new products, so let's say Traeger's in a meeting and you're talking about maybe refacing a current line that you already have. Maybe you don't want to do something brand new, but you want to give a little bit of a refresh, or perhaps you want to add something brand new into the product line. Are some of the first questions that are taking place in regards to what kind of tech can we cram in this bitch?
Yeah, I think that's a big one. I mean, for us, the first question is always market reach and what the market is. But yeah, it seems like everybody's getting more and more, wanting more and more tech in their grills, in their life, if you will. I mean, for us, a big change was, putting Wi-Fi all the way down to the Pro Series. And we've had a lot of great results with that. And we've got a new app that we've been working on that should launch next week. That's pretty cool. So yeah, a lot of it revolves around tech and what can you do to get it in there.
Is the easier part of grill making now making the actual hardware piece and not the software? I mean, the software seems to be a pain in the ass.
Yeah, and it's interesting because because I came from the software world, grilling's an industry that hasn't had any tech in the past. You don't go out and get, some stat coder that's been writing, barbecue apps for years. You know what I mean? So you're kind of developing, you kind of have to take the software people, apply enough barbecue knowledge so that it can all kind of turn out right, if that makes any sense.
Do you feel, just you talking, you have the market pulse, do you feel that the majority of folks that are buying these cookers that have the tech on them are actually using them? Or do you feel they want to have it on there, but in reality, they're really not using it, but they know that it's on there in case they want to use it?
There's a bit of, oh man, my neighbor's got that, I need it too, for sure. But I would say we see connected grills growing each month as we can kind of go back and look at the metrics. So I think people are using it, but also seeing how many people, like when they come in my store and buy a grill and they're, oh, I got to get this one because it's got the Wi-Fi. I got to have the Wi-Fi. And then, they'll come in 6 months later and like, the guy's like, man, I got to rush home. My pork butt's on. I'm like, well, why don't you just look at it from the app? He's like, oh man, I still haven't hooked it up yet. I'm like, all right, bud, whatever.
Yeah, I often have the conversation with grill manufacturers. Well, let me ask you this. If you didn't put in any of the tech, if it was just not the rotary dial thermostat, but if you had the incremental 5 degrees and that was as technical as you got, would it save a bunch of money, or is it really not that big of a price difference to stick Wi-Fi and some other items in there versus not?
I mean, it's definitely, when you look at the build of it, I mean, it's it's a substantial cost. When you look at the whole manufacturing cost of the grill. So it is good to have on there. I think one of the things that's nice about when you have a connected grill is all the updates you can do, as far as, if you do find something that you want to do, if you want to say, hey, we're going to go out and we're going to, up the max temperature on your grill. You can do all that through firmware, which is really, really nice. Also, it's great for customer service. If somebody's saying, hey, here's my issue with my grill, this and that. Hey, can you give us a serial number? And boom, we can pull it up. We can look at all the past cooks, see how the grill's been behaving. So it really helps a lot with diagnostics and that kind of thing too.
All right, Chad Ward joining me here on the show from Traeger Grills, obviously the pitmaster, Whiskey Bend Barbecue, owner of Whiskey Bend Barbecue Supply. Let's transition a little bit into the competition side of the evening here, Chad. So what does that scene mean to you at this point? Like, when was the last time you got down?
We went out, me, Matt from Meat Church, and Chris Hatcher, and we cooked Houston Livestock Rodeo. That was the last one that I'd done. Lakeland Pig Fest, which I try to do that one every year, the last weekend of January. So, competition to me right now, and, obviously before the Rona, my real focus was on doing everything with Traeger, my stores, my rubs, and then, hey, if a comp came up and I could make it and I was home, I would go cook it. So I think once all this gets done, that'll be kind of the same attitude. I mean, the Traeger job's such a blessing. I get to do so much unique stuff, and I get to teach and the stuff with the Dan Patrick Show, and man, you don't know that that's going to be forever. Hopefully competition barbecue will be around for a while. And I love it. It's what got me my roots, and I wouldn't be in the barbecue industry without competition barbecue. So I try to do everything I can to support it, but just for the time being, for me, it's definitely down low on the priority list.
So I've tracked that downturn, that being competition barbecue, at least in public interest / popularity the past few years. The content of my show has obviously reflected that as well. Do you see it getting back to a place when Pitmasters was on and everybody seemed to be interested in jumping in? Or do you think that was a perfect storm of a bunch of different factors hitting all at the same time, and that even if it starts to trend back up, you're not going to get to that level?
So what I'm thinking is the way we get it back on that level is we got to have somebody kind of be the Joe Exotic of competition barbecue.
Me. I'm going to trick all of those hetero dudes into being maybe not hetero anymore. That's so weird.
Dude is straight yeah. I'll tell you what, I have now watched that series twice, bro.
Yeah, he's a sales guy, that guy.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. But getting back to kind of seriously answering it, the one thing that, and maybe you can give me some ideas here, but like, what happened? I know it was a targeted audience, so I don't know that ever had national appeal, but like, for a second there, it was so hot. There were so many different TV shows, and then it just all dried up and pretty quickly. And I don't know what that's about, because obviously we know that sitting around and filming a barbecue contest for 24 hours is like watching paint dry.
Yeah.
But there is some highlights to it. So I think that maybe was just never the mix. I'll be curious if somebody comes in with a vision of a show that could kind of amp it back up, because it needs some help. We're losing a lot of contests, and I think people look at, when you lose a contest, we lost that contest. Well, we also lost to charity too, because all barbecue contests, the proceeds are going to charities. So that's definitely got that impact.
I think there was a couple different factors. I think that the TV show going off air and not having anything new was an issue. I think the initial attraction was that you saw a lot of people that looked like you, and that inspired you and me and whoever to say, well, I don't have to be a world-class athlete. I'm never going to be in shape like Herschel Walker or Walter Payton or Emmett Smith, or go down the line and have to be some world-class athlete or in world-class shape in order to be successful. You could take yourself, pay an entry fee, and stand right next to the best and compete and see where you come out. So I think there was a lot of cachet there. But at some point, it did, and I'm sure Sterling Ball will speak to this a little bit later on in the show. It became very rich. You had to buy.
Yeah.
There was a perception all of a sudden that you had to have a toy hauler, or you had to have a motor home, or you had to have this kind of a pit and these kind of meats. And all of a sudden, everybody was like, well, I can't afford to do that. I'll do something else instead. Or they're mortgaging their house and doing whatever to keep up with the Jones, and then they end up crapping out, and they got to go pack up and figure out a new way to make a living. And I think, those are probably the two biggest factors that started the trend back. Plus, you can see it. I mean, you're seeing it in Florida. You see it over on the West Coast. You see it in the Midwest. There are just competitions falling off left and right. There's certainly not the same amount that are there to backfill. And how long are the new ones going to be there for? Is it a year or two? I mean, there's been plenty of very long-standing, high-tradition barbecue contests that have gone by the wayside over the past 3 and 4 years.
Well, the issue there, too, is, Greg, I mean, it usually takes, with a barbecue contest, usually takes until about year 3 to really turn a profit. You know what I mean? Because you're having so much, you're having to acquire so many things, this and that. So that's a truly a real concern. And I completely agree with you too on the, it got really, really rich. You had guys out there buying, Jambos and, $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 toy haulers, that kind of stuff. It did get very, very pricey. And I think that pushed a lot of people away. I still just love that concept of a 10 by 10 tent, a couple of cookers, a cooler full of meat, and get after it. You know what I mean?
There is talk amongst the Facebook groups and some of the other online folks that they would love to see it revert back to that. But do you think that you've just crossed a line where a lot of great talk, but it's really not going to happen?
I don't think so. I mean, I think it could happen. So, I mean, I think the other thing you're seeing that's way different now than before was, you had a couple hot and fast cooks when I first got into competition. Now you've got a ton of hot and fast cooks. I mean, when I cooked at Lakeland end of January, I mean, my brisket was done in 5.5 hours. So I think you could see with the adjusted turn-in times, you could literally show up Friday night, set up, get out there Saturday morning, and go after it and be packed up and gone, after awards.
Do you think that the steak competition stuff is going to be a long router, or is that going to be burning out here over the next couple of years? No pun intended.
I think the state game's here to stay. Love the concept. Once again, it's one day. You can get there at 8 o'clock in the morning, and depending on if it's close to your house, you can be having dinner with your family that night. So it gives us all that we like as competition guys. We want to go cook something. We want to go compete. We want to go hang out with our barbecue family. And when you can do all that in one day, and I've seen a lot of the Florida barbecue, not a lot, several of the Florida barbecue guys that have kind of taken a step back on barbecue competitions, but they are now all in on the SCA competitions.
You cut your teeth on FBA. Certainly you've done other sanctioning bodies, but where do you see the viability of an FBA here over the next 2 to 5 years?
Man, I would say there's a couple contests keeping it together. But it's such a shame. I mean, it has really, really dropped significantly. There's a couple of contests that, if for whatever reason, if they were to turn KCBS, I mean, I think it could. I don't know that there'll be an FBA in 5 years, in my opinion. Probably here in the next 2, maybe, but the next 5 years, I just don't know that it'll happen. I mean, you look at, contests are less than half as far as count wise than when I started competition in FBA. I mean, used to. From here in Lakeland, Florida, I could go cook anywhere from 12 to 15 contests a year without having to drive more than 2 hours.
Yep.
And I think maybe now I could do that for 4 or 6 contests. So it's just crazy times.
I mean, 10 years ago, was it 10 years ago? FBA cooks were easily comparable to the top KCBS cooks. I think there was a budding rivalry of top FBA tier cooks, thinking KCBS guys think that they're better than us. You come down here and we'll go and cook with you guys and we can win, but you never want to come down here and cook with us. It was a nice budding rivalry there, some good internet scuttlebutt. But the bottom line is there were some really kick-ass cooks coming out of Florida, not the least of which was the guy who kind of garnered all of us online talents up, being Kevin Bevington from Home Barbecue, who was easily kicking everybody's ass for a 5-year stretch, 5-year FBA Team of the Year. I think a couple of those of those 5, he was also top 10 in KCBS at the same time. I mean, a prolific barbecue cook.
Kevin Bevington was there was 2 guys that were super beneficial to me in my start in competition barbecue. The first one always will be, Rub Bagby from Swamp Boys. You can't mention Florida barbecue without mentioning Rub Bagby's name. And Kevin Bevington. And, Kevin, great guy, hell of a cook, and was just always very forthcoming with helping, and one thing I learned about those 2 guys, and I kind of have, taken it and applied it from them, is, if I would go to them and say, hey, man, I'm having a problem with brisket, here's exactly what I did, here's where I think I messed it up, boom, they would walk you to the answer. But just don't go over there and go, hey, man, how do I cook brisket? You know what I mean? Show that you put in your work. Show that you put in your time. Show that you're frustrated. And those 2 guys are going to do everything they can to help you out, And I would agree, too. It was fun. I mean, when you had Rub and Kevin, and then you kind of had this next wave of cooks that came in, Team Unknown, Jim Elser, Matt Barber, myself, and we all kind of came in at the same time. And we used to love, going and flying to a Ronnie Cates contest. So we could take our FBA guys over there and Dana Hillis, Big Papa's Country Kitchen. We'd love to go into those Ronnie Cates events or WFC and seeing what we could do, and stacking ourselves up against the KCBS guys. And it was a lot of fun. Made a lot of good friends that way.
Those were the golden years of competition barbecue. I don't know if we'll, it's just funny to say, but I mean, I really think we've probably hit the pinnacle there, and always great to, for those that don't know, Chad, easily probably one of the top 5 moments on the show when he was recounting a World Food Championship bid where he had put a Craigslist order in for a bear trapper. And Chad said here on the show that if the bear trapper would have come through, and who would have thought that a Craigslist bear trapper would not have come through? But if he would have come through, you would have cooked a bear running style, correct?
Yes, bear running style for sure.
With was it a salmon in the mouth or something like that to really set it off?
Yeah, because it was the surf and turf category. You can pick whatever you wanted. So I was going to go running style with a salmon in the mouth.
Yeah, one of the top 5 stories all time on the Barbecue Central show. We're talking with Chad Ward. You can find him over at TraegerGrills.com, Whiskey Bent Barbecue Supply, and from time to time, pit mastering Whiskey Bent Barbecue's competition team. Chad, really appreciate the time getting caught up here tonight. Continued success. We'll do it again soon.
Hey, Greg, so awesome, man. Have a great show, and thanks so much for giving me the opportunity. Appreciate it, buddy. Good to catch up.
You got it. There he is. That's Chad Ward right there on this show, the pitmaster of Whiskey Bent Barbecue, owner of Whiskey Bent Barbecue Supply. The list goes on. Great guy. Good insight there. Traeger talk, competition talk, old days talk. One of the best stories ever recounted on this show talk. While nobody's happy that we are battling with the coronavirus, the silver lining for your host is that I have had access to folks that I have just not had access to over the past couple of years. They're road warriors, they're out all the time. Their schedulers are competing with the live format of the show, you name it. So happy to have Chad back in. Hopefully it's not another couple years before we get him back. All right, we're going to wrap up the first hour when we come back. If you want to jump in, 216-220-0966. Or you can hit me up on the email, greg@thebbqcentralshow.com. Stick around, I'll be right back.
Continuing to produce incredibly mediocre content in an exceptionally professional way. You're listening and watching the Barbecue Central Show. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
All right, welcome back. This portion of the show being brought to you by Smithfield. Throughout the grilling season, recipes and tips and tricks given to you by Chris Lilly, Darren Worth, Ernest Cervantes, Giles Cridlin. Of course, with mouth-watering flavor, no artificial ingredients, Smithfield is providing you, quite simply, some of the finest pork money can buy, trusted by World Championship pitmasters for use at their competitions and in their home. Email from Phil Ludwig. Greg, as you can see, I just got my new fireboard. Thanks for the great content. Your sponsors should be extremely happy. I don't know how many products I've ordered because of the show, but it's a handful. Phil, man's game. You are going to love the fireboard. You know what you're mostly going to love about the fireboard? Well, first of all, if you got the base, immediately go back and order 4 more probes so you can load out or at least have access to if you ever need it. You can never have too many probes, Phil. This is what I'm telling you. That's number 1. Number 2, you are going to be so happy and perhaps surprised that this fireboard is going to be so simple for you to hook up to the laptop, create the account, hook it up to your local area network. You can go Bluetooth if you want. I highly suggest against it. I think Bluetooth is whack. Hook it up to the local area, and you can just go wherever you want. You be in the grocery store, which I highly suggest against at the moment. But hypothetically speaking, you go to the grocery store, you stay 6 feet away from everybody at all times. Don't touch a lot of stuff. You can monitor where your internal temperatures and pit temperatures are right from the app. The app is easy, straight up user-friendly. Phil, you're so lucky that you got the fireboard. Now, immediately go fill out the rest of the probe ports. And I guess if you have a bullet-style smoker, you might want to consider the fan thing that they have, too. Why not? All right, we thank Chad Ward once again for coming on the show. TraegerGrills.com is his business website where he works as the director of marketing. Whiskey Bent Barbecue Supply, Google that. They have online retailing, and they also have brick and mortar. They are currently open, so if you're in that area and you want to run through it, again, proper social distance, yes? Hands wiping, Purelling. Is Purell back in stock? I literally haven't been to the store in 2 weeks, so I don't know if toilet paper is still an issue, finding, and if bread is still an issue, and a bunch of the other stuff that was hard to come by for some reason. I don't know why, but... All right, we are loading in the expert judges, believe it or not. As we get ready to head to the second hour, we will tell you who's going to make it to the American Idol Barbecue Central Show edition in April. Out of the 4, 3 will be making their way. 1 will be eliminated. We will have the first person eliminated on this show, top of the second hour as well, for instant feedback. If you want to jump in on the show this evening, you're more than welcome to do that. 216-220-0966. You can also email the show, Greg at thebbqcentralshow.com. Smokin' Joe's Barbecue Pit and Instant Chat asks, do Peterbilt trucks have toilets in them yet? Or are truck drivers still tossing their lemonade out the window? Well, Joe, I think they stop at truck stops. From the factory with a factory sleeper on it, there is no bathroom option, no toilet option. Now, if you build the chassis and you send it to some secondary sleeper manufacturer, like those really big-ass ones with the wood flooring and the disco balls and full kitchens and all that stuff, that's different. They might have a shower option and a toilet option, who knows? But what I get you from the stock at the factory, there are no toilets. And for not having a toilet, you still have the privilege of paying $165,000 for that truck. You're welcome. All right, we are loaded and ready to go the second hour. Stick around. We'll be right back.
Gary Bay, Nerd Chuck, host of Wine Library TV, aka WLTV, and this is BBQ Central.
Happy to have you aboard here for the really big barbecue show.
Boing.
We cook because we have to, and we grill because we want to.
Hit me!
Fine, how's it going?
You have a great show. I'm a big fan.
Boing.
So what seems to be the problem here? This man looks like he's dead, and he's in the crackle. Charbono! It's all about the Charbono, dude.
Succulent fish. What?
He ate sushi or wiener.
Oh, listen, Lavernius, shake your face.
I'm shaking like a dog shit peach seeds.
We have top men working on it right now. Top men.
And just like that, we are into the second hour. It's the Barbecue Central Show. We're coming to you from Cleveland, where we social distance better than anybody. Period. Flattening the curve at breakneck speeds. And you can follow me socially at BBQ Central Show on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Snappy Snap, /BBQ Central Show on the books. Still to come on the show in about 13 minutes from now, Sean Ludwig from the Smoke Sheet, perhaps Ryan Cooper. Not sure yet. But at least Sean Ludwig, for sure. All right, so let's get into this. I have teased it long enough. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Barbecue Central Show's American Idol. All right, we are going to find out who is voted off, or perhaps more importantly, who stays on the show. Helping me decide those things, or helping me announce those things tonight, are the expert judges right there. There's Marley to the left, and Bobby's right there in the middle. Maddie's right there top right. And it looks like Chewy Louie the First has also made a guest appearance. He probably won't have too much to say, but that's all right. He's ready to rock and roll. I love it when kids are on camera and they have no idea they're on camera. Fabulous. All right, girls, are you ready to rock and roll here?
Yes.
All right, here we go.
Can you hear me?
I can
you hear me? Forgive my red eye.
Yes.
It's allergy season,
I got it.
everybody.
All right. Shh. Here we go. You can't hear yourself?
No. Wait. I can hear you. Can I hear myself now?
How about now?
No. Yeah.
Yeah, better?
Yeah.
All right. Everybody else good with the heat on their ears?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, here we go.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
All right, so here we go. Last week, the expert judges sat in as we all had our hand. Myself, John Solberg, Doug Scheiding, Jeff Reiser sang the smash 70s hit by Thin Lizzy the supergroup Thin Lizzy, Jailbreak, right?
Yeah.
All right.
Yep.
Now, in case you forgot what that sounded like, we will run through some bits here. For instance, first up was Jeff Reiser, or as we call him in the YouTube stage, Reiser, and here's what he sounded like.
Tonight there's gonna be a jailbreak somewhere in this town. See me and the boys, we don't like it, so we're getting up and going down. High and low, looking right to left. If you see us come, I think it's best.
What do you think? Very good, right?
Yeah. Not bad.
Right.
Yep. Sounds good. Good.
All right, now let's quickly go through the panel. Marley, what? I don't remember exactly what you said last week, but what are your thoughts as you listen back again?
I don't remember it.
Great answer.
No.
Great
I'm
answer.
trying to think of what I need to say. You need to come back to me.
Oy vey. Bobby, your thoughts as you hear this again on Jeff Reister.
I thought that he talked more than sang, and that I really can't hear myself, so I don't know how I sound.
You sound fine.
Maybe a little pitchy at some parts.
Maddie?
Pretty much the same as what Bobby said. It was more talking than singing. It was a little pitchy, and now I have listened to the original song, so I know what I'm listening for.
All right.
That was just not it.
That was not it. All right.
No, sir.
Okay, then we had John Solberg, Michigan Embedded Correspondent. If you don't recall what his sounded like, here you go.
Tonight there's gonna be a jailbreak somewhere in this town. See, me and the boys, we don't like it. So we're getting up and going down, hiding low, looking right to left. If he sees us coming, I think it's best.
All right, there you go. That's what John sounded like, as you recall. Maddie, we'll go back to you. Your thoughts as you hear it back again from last week.
That's just talking, not singing. I didn't get this the first time, but he also said looking right to left, not right to left.
Oh, now we're becoming very
yeah.
We're sticklers on the lyrics.
Yes, those were not the words.
All right, Bobby, your thoughts as you listen back from a week ago?
I appreciate how he tried to move on after that slip up, Greg, but he did more talking than singing, and I just think he held back from his full potential.
All right, Marley, your thoughts as you listen back?
I would have to agree with Bobby and Maddie. He's talking, he's not singing.
You want more singing, is what you're saying?
Yes.
All right.
He needs to be more
The
into
highs,
it.
the lows. I want to feel the passion.
Got it. All right. Third up was the longest running correspondent of the show, Doug Scheiding from Texas. Here's what he sounded like.
Tonight there's gonna be a jailbreak somewhere in this town. See, me and the
Turn it
boys, we
down.
like it. So we're getting up and going down, hiding low, looking right to left. If you see us coming, I think it's best.
All right. That's what Doug sounded like. The girls, don't chastise me. You told me to turn it up. All right. Marley, your thoughts?
I like how you were actually singing.
That's not me.
What?
That's Doug.
I know.
Oh,
I
okay.
like how he was actually singing, but the music was going over you.
All right.
Computers.
Bobby?
Yeah, I agree. The music
Was hot.
overcame your voice. I think if you could balance it out, you would have done better.
Maddie?
Yeah, just what they said. Music was too loud, your voice was too quiet, but it was more singing than talking.
More singing than talking still. All right. Got a lot of that. Of course, I ended it. Here's what that sounded like.
Tonight there's gonna be a jailbreak somewhere in this town. To me and the boys, we don't like it, so we're getting up and going down, hiding low, looking right to left. If you see us coming, I think that it's best.
All right, there you go. Maddie, your thoughts?
Not good.
Bobby?
You could have done better.
And Marley?
I don't think it was you still.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, it was still me, but...
Auto-tune.
All right, here we go. After America voted, the first one safe, Doug Scheiding.
Yay, good job.
Yeah, Doug.
You did great.
Good job, Doug.
Embedded correspondent, longest running, Doug Scheiding makes it in.
Press music down still.
All right. Now, we continue on with our second. Safely into April. Your humble host, Greg Rempe.
Wow.
Safely in.
Clap. Okay. I think it's rigged. Maybe.
I'm pretty happy. Glad I can go back into the next round. All right, so that leaves it all to this. Who's going to make it? Ricer or John Solberg? Quickly around the room. Barley, who do you think's going to make it?
Ricer.
Bobby.
Ricer.
Maddie.
Ricer.
The votes have been tallied. Moving on to the next round. Budding YouTube sensation Jeff Ricer. Wowee. So there you have your final three. Jeff Rice, Doug Scheiding, your humble host. And we are looking to bring on... Is he there? Are you there, caller?
Caller, I'm here.
Here he is. John Solberg. A great sport. There he is. All right, John, so let's talk about it. You've heard what the judges have had to say now 2 weeks in a row. I would say borderline merciless, but what have you learned from this experience?
Well, first of all, it's disappointing to be eliminated, but someone had to go. I'm going to take what the judges said moving forward and get back into this competition next year.
Do you think that there's going to be a season 2 of American Idol Barbecue Central Show Edition, John?
Absolutely.
You
I've
do?
been practicing all week.
Oh, all right. Implementing some of the advice that the girls were giving?
100%. I intended on going on. Proper song selection and working on my singing, retraining my speaking voice, which I've tried to train so well into a non-speaking voice, and I can do that.
All right. Maddie, any thoughts for John before we leave?
Keep up the hard work.
All right. Bobby?
I think you have real potential. I just think you might have been a little scared and you held yourself back, and that's what hurt you.
All right. And Bobby or Marley, your thoughts for John?
I think if there's a season 2, you will do great if you take our advice.
Wow. All right.
I will do that, and I will do well.
All right, John, thank you for coming on and playing this season, and hopefully you will watch, as the rest of us do, to see how the rest of the show runs through the next few months. But thank you so much, my friend.
Thank you all.
There he is, John Solberg from Michigan. He's out. How about that? All right, girls, what do you think?
Good show.
Good show.
Great. Amazing.
Let's pick a song that I know next time.
All right. Well, I can tell you this.
Dad.
Yes.
We listened to it in my room upstairs before he came down.
Yes.
Yeah, the real one.
All right.
Cool.
Who was the closest?
What do you mean?
Me. Who's the closest?
Oh,
to the
I don't know. I think none of you.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, the benefit of making it into the second round of the show is what? You get to pick your song this time. Everybody's not singing the same song, so
yeah, I like to mix it up.
you will
I have some recommendations.
All right. Well, I already have my song picked out.
I'm looking forward to your song.
And if any of the other competitors are looking for input from the judges, they can email me. And otherwise, that's going to do it. All right, ladies. Thanks for coming in tonight.
Thank you for
We'll see
having
you
us.
next month
See ya.
on the American Idol Barbecue Central Show edition. Wow. And we thank John Solberg for calling in. So fun. Well, let me get my screens back up here as we're going to be hitting up Sean Ludwig. At a minimum, Sean Ludwig. Perhaps a Ryan Cooper. We'll see on that. Let me talk to you quickly about the Barbecue Guru. Always believing that outdoor cooking should be easy and fun, because it can be with the Monolith Guru Edition Grill. Monolith is the world's first temperature-controlled smoker with a built-in power draft fan. This means smarter control and greater freedom. With automatic pit temperature controls, easily choose your cooking time and temperature and let the Monolith do the work of a sous chef or a barbecue pitmaster. With minimal effort, you now have oven-like precision at the grill each and every time. You can serve the tastiest, juiciest meals. Easy to do. And if you already have a Barbecue Guru controller, just hook it up to the fan that's already built in there and away you go. It also comes with a bunch of really neat accessories, so they're not jobbing you out, making you buy the cooker and then the nest and then these utensils and these accessories. No. Fully complete, a lot of cool stuff, saving you cash. And again, if you have a controller, go ahead and hook it up. You're ready to go. If you have any questions, you call them, bbqguru.com website-wise, or 800-288-GURU. That's 800-288-GURU. The Barbecue Guru continues to be a breakthrough in barbecue technology. We're back right after this. Stick around.
Monthly visits from a killer hog, a cooking guy, a man named Meathead, the author of Barbecue Bible, a grill girl, a bristly barbecue journalist, and the malfeasance of the barbecue world known as the Embedded Correspondents. Only found right here on the Barbecue Central Show.
And this portion of the show brought to you by Fireboard. Monitor up to 6 different temperatures, just like Phil Luswick will be able to do here shortly, simultaneously. Connect to Wi-Fi for cloud-based monitoring, or connect via Bluetooth if you have Alexa or the Google Assistant in your home. Fully integrated with both. Find out more by visiting fireboard.com. or call 816-945-2232. And again, fireboard.com. My guest in the second hour, doing the down and dirty work of barbecue journalism, one of the creators of something called The Smoke Sheet, which is released each and every week, actually Wednesdays, to keep you up to speed on the live fire industry. We race to the hotline and welcome back friend of the show, Sean Ludwig. Hey, Sean.
Hey, Greg, how are you?
I am fabulous. Appreciate you making time for the show. I know we were game timing Ryan Cooper, and before we get into some of the things we want to talk about, in case folks aren't familiar with what Ryan has been battling here over the last number of months, can you give us a brief span of what happened and where he's sitting at current day?
Absolutely. Yes, my good friend Ryan last year was diagnosed with colon cancer, came kind of out of nowhere, and he's been battling that very steadily and getting better every month. He's getting better. He's fighting. A lot of support from the barbecue community has come in and helped him. So we really appreciate all that support. And he's still been working on the Smoke Sheet with me, and it's been really surprisingly good process, and he's doing better. It's just that today happened to be a chemo treatment day, and unfortunately on a chemo treatment day, and I don't know anyone out there who's kind of gone through this, and I personally haven't had it in my close family, haven't had to go through this process, but 1 or 2 days, maybe longer after the treatment, you're in kind of a not great spot usually. So unfortunately, he's recovering, and he texted me earlier. He's like, "Yeah, I'm not feeling up for it, but good luck, buddy. You got this."
Yep, no doubt about it. We wish Ryan continued success in his fight, and whenever he feels well enough to come back on, whenever that next time is, we're more than happy to have him. Now, aside from Ryan's most catastrophic diagnosis and now fight that he's putting up, You yourself were minding your own business and jaunting over to Italy. By the way, much like Howard Stern, and share a similar sentiment, I would never leave this country. Not that this particular situation doesn't matter if you're leaving the country or not. But you hopped a plane and went over to Italy. And so this was a planned vacation, or was this business/barbecue related, or both?
This was absolutely the opposite of barbecue and business. It was just purely pleasure. And it was planned, we're talking 6 months in advance.
Yeah.
This is something that had been on the books for a while. And this is interesting. When we started going over there, things started seeming weird when it came to coronavirus and stuff like that. And the situation in Italy was just getting started. Like, it was just kind of beginning to materialize. And by the time we left, we were there for a little more than 10 days. We felt like it went from, feeling like, a little bit of discontent there to being suddenly it felt like everyone was a little unnerved when we left. So we were glad that we got out when we did, which is about a month ago. And as we've been watching this develop in Italy and then later here, it's been so crazy that we even, so my now fiance actually proposed while I was there. So
congratulations, look at you.
It was a very eventful trip in a lot of ways. I mean, running away from coronavirus and running into my fiance's arms. So it really was an eventful trip, but we came back and we basically self-quarantined ourselves because we're coming back from Italy. So we were like, we're going to just do the right thing, even though there was nobody at the airport to give us even a pamphlet or take our temperature or anything when we came back. The lack of anyone at the airport when you're coming back from Italy and being like, what's going on, guys? You're not going to ask us anything? Like, what's going on here? It was really weird, man. But we were the good citizens. We self-quarantined ourselves. And I think, we came out of quarantine, and then everyone else is going into quarantine now in the especially in New York. It's very strange here, and we're just trying to get by now.
When you are over in Italy, compared to how you're seeing it unfold here, do they have newscasts that are saying, hey, this thing is emerging, or we don't think it's going to be too terribly bad, but you want to take precaution? Like, what kind of a social heads up are you getting? And where are you specifically? Are you in the normal tourist jaunts?
We were primarily in Rome and Florence. And the thing is, the attitude there at that moment was actually like, it's really all in the north. Like, everyone we had talked to pretty much is like, it's pretty much Milan, a little bit of Venice, and some of the towns outside of it. And those places have been locked down. So we don't really expect to see a lot of things going on where we're at. But the progression of things and public transit and freedom of movement means, well, it's spread around the country. And it's one of the most devastating things. That country has been, absolutely devastated by the coronavirus, and we're just hoping, praying, etc., that it's not going to be as bad in the United States, but it's already getting a little scary, especially up here in New York.
Did you think that when you got back here, you wouldn't see the same level of magnitude as happened in Italy? Because obviously, if you look at the news, we have the most cases ever. We're trending higher than anybody. I mean, certainly we have a lot of people here, and there's a lot of densely populated areas here in this country, so that's not helping anything. But did you think that when you got back here, it was safer?
I think upon coming back, we felt a little bit better to be back in the United States. I mean, just
from a comfort standpoint?
Yeah, I mean, you've probably, mentioned Daniel Vaughn's situation, but the thing, being stuck in another country and not being able to, if you get sick or you have problems, not being able to be in your own country when that's going on. I mean, like, I'd rather be sick here than sick in Italy. I'd rather be with my family and my friends, have emotional support, have people here. Like, I'm glad that we were able to come back, and we were able to come back just in time before things really spiked there. But it was really scary. I mean, like, that's something that, looking back on now, I mean, I've been flamed on Twitter over conveying the sort of normalcy that was going on there when we were there, in relation to, news media and things were starting to amplify there, and especially the American media were amplifying how big of a deal this was. But I think on the ground, we were not sensing any of that. Everyone we talked to pretty much were like, nah, it's gonna blow over. It's mostly in the north. It's contained. We're gonna be fine. That's also what made me worried when I came back, because as things intensified there and in the United States, we still have people hanging out on the beach down in Florida right now, like, not taking it seriously. So I think, like, we're going to continue to see this, intensify here probably for another at least month. We're going to have, a big spike. So unfortunately.
Yeah, Sean Ludwig joining me here on the show. NYC BBQ is his handle on Instagram. It's nycbbq.com, just from a regular website as well, correct?
Yes, that is correct.
All right. So let's talk about the smoke sheet and the barbecue scene. Obviously, you are in New York City, Brooklyn, I believe. So what kind of and New York is obviously the hotspot. So the city is basically locked down to a large degree. Essential is the only thing that you're really allowed to do. Are you even bothered doing that, or like what's your day-to-day look like in the city?
You know, what's interesting is so my fiance has a dog, and we take the dog out for walks because you're not going to just this is actually something even in Italy, they're allowed to take your dog out for walks. But you don't want your dog going in your place. That's just not, you live in a small apartment, you don't need the dog going in your apartment. But anyway, so we actually go out a few times a day to take the dog out. We're not going to any shops or anything. We're not like hanging out, but the amount of people that are out and about and still doing stuff is almost kind of crazy given that like Times Square is empty. But people are still going to the grocery store, going to the pharmacy, going to the doctor, going to the hospital, going to the park because you're allowed to go outside. You're not just, you need to keep your distance from people. I wouldn't be surprised if it gets to the point where they even lock us down more. That could happen. But we are just trying to roll with the punches, try to stay safe, wash our hands all the time, and keep our distance from everybody. We get nervous when we just get close to people. Like we get like, anywhere near a stranger, we're just like, take a step back, man. Like, do you read? Step back.
Do you think that that's going to subside rapidly once we get on the other side of this thing, or do you think that we will become a more distanced society where handshaking might go away and hugging and kissing on the cheeks and all this?
I wouldn't be surprised if generally we distance ourselves more until at least we have a vaccine. This thing's not going to go away until there's a vaccine. So if we just sort of extrapolate a little bit, like we're not going to get until next year before we have a vaccine, probably. So then we really we're going to have to take more precautions. When restaurants eventually do reopen, they'll be opened at less capacity. It'll be a slow transition back into normalcy. And I think everyone's going to have to be more, sanitary. You're going to probably have to every restaurant is going to have like a hand sanitizer station right at the front door. Maybe we'll get to the situation where, every other table is allowed to have people, but like, it's going to be a transition period. I'll tell you here, restaurants are hurting. I know they're hurting all over the country, but our barbecue restaurants and our restaurants in general are hurting bad up here. And it's unfortunate that, New York is one of the best restaurant scenes in the country. And a lot of those workers are, worried about paying rent tomorrow. And so that's really scary for them. I'm hopeful that this short-term stimulus bill is going to help some people. It's going to help some restaurants, not all restaurants. I just hope that another stimulus bill basically gets passed to help restaurants, restaurant workers, more grants, less loans, stuff that's really going to help our restaurants. Because right now, we're looking at at least probably a quarter of our restaurants are going to die off here from this. So
the barbecue restaurants specifically, when you think of a barbecue restaurant, you think somebody's taken over the Tasty Freeze, or they've built a brick and mortar that is more fast casual. So you're walking in, they're going to cut it, give it to you, and then maybe you go outside, not necessarily an eat-in area or a full-service restaurant. Does New York have a lot of those, or are they built in more of the traditional go in, sit down, here's a menu, and we're going to do a full-service eating situation?
We've got a good mix of sit down, more like a regular restaurant situation where somebody comes and takes your order. We have several places that are counter service where you go up, get your food and go sit at a table. And we also have fast casual, like, Mighty Quinn's, for example. You've probably heard of Mighty Quinn's, but, they have a national footprint at this point. And they start in New York. And the thing is, like, I think they're well positioned to deal with this situation because they've already had a very strong takeout and delivery infrastructure before this happened. And I think every restaurant now is going to have a really strong takeout and delivery infrastructure. Being on all the apps, even if you hate the apps, you got to be on the apps to have some kind of traction. If you have enough of a loyal fan base, you can actually just get everyone to call in your order, or do some kind of like, I don't know, email order system or whatever. I know some guys in Texas have done email orders, but basically to get around the delivery fees that those third-party apps throw at you. But what I think really is going to be is anyone who started, before this crisis with a really strong takeout and delivery game, and that was primarily how they structured their business, or let's say it was 50% of their revenue, is in a decent position to weather some of these challenges now because they probably had less staff. The model wasn't solely focused on bringing people in. It was just about getting the food out the door.
When we get on the other side of it, do you think that we will have a more knowledgeable restaurant base of being prepared or preparing for something like this? Will they see a lot of internal changes on how they're operating their business? So if something like this happens, or when it happens again, they'll be able to pivot and continue to, well, at least stay in business, not necessarily thrive until it reworks itself so they can go back to a traditional business model?
I honestly don't know if the restaurant model is ever going to be designed in such a way that it can weather something like this. Like, the restaurants always have thin margins anyway, especially barbecue restaurants. Brisket, it's like you lose money by selling brisket.
Yeah.
So barbecue restaurants need to have people coming in the door, generally speaking, need people to come in the door, need people to buy drinks, need to have a real sense of community. And, that unfortunately is not conducive to our current environment. And I do worry about, another event like this. The only way that we are able to get ready for it is by having a playbook, right? I know that if this happens, I need the government to do X, their part, and on my part, I unfortunately have to lay off half of my staff. They need to immediately go on unemployment, and the second that this thing turns around, I can try to get them back or get most of my staff back. So it's about having, foresight. I don't think most restaurants had a game plan for a pandemic, unfortunately. So
when the restaurants look to get their staff back, is that now going to be a task that nobody's really thinking about how hard that actually might be? Or is the thought that there's just going to be a vast multitude of people to pick from, and if I'm not getting John back, who was originally with me, I'll get Tom, Dick, or Harry, it won't matter?
I would make an argument, especially from the barbecue joints that I've talked to, that a lot of them have basically made a really strong connection with their workers, and they basically have made, an agreement with them. Listen, I'm not laying you off because I want to lay you off. I'm laying you off because it's the only way for this business to survive in any kind of way. And I'm going to have to ask you to take unemployment for 2 months, and then I'm going to bring you back as soon as I'm able to. Either that means I have a loan where I can actually, pay payroll again, or I can just kind of get the business spun up again enough to where I can bring back a lot of my workers. I think it's going to be really difficult. I don't think that, if let's say I was working at a barbecue joint and I, was a cook, or I was, running tables, I don't think this would be the time where I would want to run to another restaurant, unless I guess I really hated my job. But I would only go to another restaurant if I couldn't get my old job back, right? I mean, like, I had a good job. I liked the people I worked with. We had a system. Whatever. I think it's going to be a lot of shakeups, but I think a lot of these barbecue joints that I know are going to be able to get some of their staff back.
From a coverage standpoint, what's hot on the smoke sheet right now? What are you guys going to be releasing tomorrow?
We actually had 2 issues in a row where we were talking about the impact of coronavirus on events and barbecue restaurants. We decided on this issue to be a little lighter. I just realized that it's, April 1st tomorrow, April Fools or whatever. We're not doing any of that crap.
By the way,
I hope
breaking news, Sean. I didn't know if you knew this or not.
Go ahead.
Tonight is the last show of the Barbecue Central show forever. Thought I'd throw that out. Yeah, believe it or
Well,
not.
I'm glad I got in right at the last second.
You're right.
I've got a thing for timing.
Yeah.
So anyway, I think tomorrow is a little lighter. We're going to feature a few fun recipes that we picked out that, let's say you're a little more quarantined or self-isolating or whatever, and you want to do some cool stuff on your backyard. Here's a few fun recipes to check out that, we think would be fun. And we'll definitely be diving back into the impact of coronavirus on restaurants and events. But like for now, I think, think about this. Generally speaking, a lot of our restaurants are just hanging on. If you're out there and you haven't bought a gift card to your favorite barbecue joint or haven't bought anything from your favorite barbecue joint right now, this is the time to do it if you want them to survive. That's just like going to be the message for saving your barbecue restaurants right now is really important to you. You basically need to use the next week or two to support them. And then for events, next few months, we're going to be barbecue eventless. Which in a way is interesting. Ryan is, still recovering. And because some of these events are being postponed, he actually might be able to go to some of these events in the fall now because they're being postponed, as granted that his health, is back to 100%. So, let's hope, a lot of these big events get to, happen big in fall. Let's hope Ryan and I can go to a lot of these awesome events and bring, the barbecue scoop to everybody. And I just hope that we get on the other side of this soon and that our barbecue joints can get back to where they were.
You can find Sean Ludwig at nycbbq.com or follow them on social at nycbbq, at BBQ Tourist for Ryan Cooper if you want to give him a follow if you're not following these guys already. And then be sure to subscribe to the Smoke Sheet. Where do you do that at, Sean?
So you can subscribe to the Smoke Sheet at bbqnewsletter.com.
All right, easy enough. So go over there and subscribe if you haven't already. Sean, really appreciate the time and the catch up. We'll do it again.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Greg.
All right, you got it. There he is. That's Sean Ludwig. NYC BBQ on the socials and nycbbq.com. So he keeps a really good website. And then, of course, the Smoke Sheet is great. A lot of people are loving the Smoke Sheet as it comes out. A lot of great tips on who to listen to and what to read and stuff that's coming up. He said, obviously, a little light on the competition stuff and things that are coming up for crowd purposes. But be on the lookout for the new one being released tomorrow. By the way, I'm getting a lot of emails saying, oh, tomorrow or tonight's the last show. No, April Fool's early. Can I request that nobody go out of their way to do the April Fool's bit? It's like somebody that's older than 14 dressing up for Halloween. Don't do that. I will talk to you quickly about Big Papa Smokers, the one-stop online shop for all things barbecue, a curated selection of only the best outdoor cooking supplies, getting you on the path to better barbecue results in no time. They have the rubs, right? That's right, 13 perfectly balanced flavors, popular like Sweet Money, Cattle Prod, Cash Cow, Regular Money, Happy Ending, Double Secret Steak Rub, Little Louis Seasoned Salt, the list goes on. They also own Granny's Barbecue Sauce. So if you're looking for a new go-to sauce, if you're a little tired of what's currently existing out in the market now, I understand. You want something that's great out of the bottle, or maybe you're lazy and you don't want to make your own base sauce, use the Granny's as a base and then tweak from there. Now, aside from the sauces and rubs, you know what they got. Cookers. That's right. Those kids messing around with that temperature. Premium pellet, charcoal, and wood cookers. If you're looking for a versatile cooker that's easy to use, check out that Mac 2-Star General pellet cooker. Big Papa Smokers is the exclusive Mac dealer, and they even offer special packages. If you're not a fan of pellet smokers, take a look at the Old Hickory Ace BP, the only charcoal smoker that Big Papa trusts on his competition trailer. If you're not sure of what grill you need, you really can't go wrong with anything that Big Papa Smokers sells. They have something for every kind of budget and backyard cook. If you have any questions, you give them a call at 877-828-0727. That's 877-828-0727, or shop the website BigPapaSmokers.com. That's BIGPOPPA Smokers.com. And speaking of Big Papa Smokers, we'll talk to him next. Stick around.
Celebrating over 10 years of prolific and unparalleled live fire barbecue and grilling talk. And yes, it's still being done from Cleveland, Ohio. You're listening to the Barbecue Central Show.
This portion of the show being brought to you by Pit Barrel Cooker, who have now acquired Barrel House Cooker. The Glanvilles have. It's the most unbelievable outdoor cooking device on the planet. Currently available in 2 sizes with a host of accessories. Whether you're a beginner or a professional, it's definitely a cooker you want to add to the arsenal. Visit pitbarrelcooker.com and tell them the Barbecue Central Show sent you. Pit Barrel Cooker. All right, my next guest tonight appears on the show semi-frequently, and he makes some of the best rubs in the business. Also, probably one of the most prolific barbecue competition cooks over the last 10 years, and we're here to talk food and virus and music and all that stuff. It is Sterling Ball, and might I add, the first time he is ever appearing via Skype. He is a real human, ladies and gentlemen. How about that? Hey, Sterling.
Hi, Greg. How are you, my friend?
Very fine. We're having a great show, and I'm finally happy that you were able to appear on a different barbecue podcast other than mine that required you to use Skype. So now we can connect in and see those movie star good looks.
Thank you. Thank you. You know, it's hard being next to you, though. You know,
is it?
Your natural Cleveland good looks. It's tough.
Yeah, natural Cleveland good looks. I don't know if those words can actually be used together. So
oxymorons.
Now, let me start out by saying this. Your Barbecue Central Show Guest Hall of Fame designation officially has been moved to semi-recurring. I don't recall how we erred on the one-off guest, but your appeal was taken to the Brain Trust. We held many high-level meetings to discuss and track back, and we all agreed that there was just a simple mistake made between decisions and categories. You got inadvertently moved into the one-off. We didn't notice until you mentioned it a number of times, which, of course, you should have mentioned it. So I say this with all sincerity, and I wanted to be the first to congratulate you on being moved to the semi-recurring Barbecue Central Show Guest Hall of Fame. I assume you have a speech ready.
Well, at my age, I'm happy with semi.
Yes, indeed. So I'm glad. I don't know. I feel bad that somehow that fell through the cracks, but you have an eagle eye when it comes to awards and designations.
It's called Eagle Eye.
Oh,
Eagle Eye.
Eagle Eye. That's right. Sterling Ball joining us here, BigPapaSmokers.com. We have talked a number of times over the last couple weeks as the coronavirus has swept through the nation to a lot of people in the restaurant business or in the food periphery. Hard times. But are there industries within the sect that we like that are actually, I'm not going to say benefiting, but aren't seeing near the downturn? For instance, you're an online retailer, you purvey your own rubs, you purvey also a number of other rubs. Are you seeing as good of business as you ever have? Because guess what? People are home. People are now being forced to cook by and large for the most part. And of course, we all know that live fire is growing in the backyard like crazy.
Absolutely. And no, we're doing really well and we're open, which is we're really fortunate. We're pretty proactive, both from Ernie Ball and Big Papa Smokers, you know, my 2 companies. And we were working remotely about 10 days before the government asked us to. And, been practicing social distancing. I used to call that competing in barbecue, actually.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Ahead of your time.
Well, what happened is that we've really taken it seriously, and we're not getting hit as hard in California as other places. But you know, Guitar Center, the biggest customer in the music business, just furloughed 9,000 workers and closed 263 stores for a month. Europe's a mess. So from the music business side, I mean, we're still operating on a limited basis there. We're going to be fine, but this is the most serious event and economic event I've ever seen. And unfortunately, it's coupled with a very, very tragic illness. But, in the past, businesses like barbecue and music were considered almost recession proof. But I don't think anybody but face mask makers are going to come out of this hole. And it's going to take a long time.
Yep.
It's going to take a lot of patience too.
Well, when they talk about percentages of forecasted unemployment, it surpasses Great Depression. I mean, you hear about the Great Depression, and it was like back in the 1930s, and did that really even happen? Because most of those people are dead anyway, and it was just something you read in the history books. And if this comes to fruition, we'll have eclipsed that. And at this stage in the game, it seems almost unfathomable that we could reach that.
Yeah, we haven't furloughed anyone. There's some voluntary furloughs. If you're not comfortable, we have just under 500 employees. So, one thing we said, hey, we're committed. For 58 years, we've made payroll in California. We'd like to continue to do that, and throughout this crisis, and then for hopefully 58 more years.
Yep.
But anybody that's uncomfortable in working, there's nothing punitive. They're furloughed, and we're extending benefits. But it's been a high percentage really want to keep their job and maybe value their job a little bit more.
When we talk about being home or shuttered in place or whatever, and we just mentioned it a couple minutes ago as far as people cooking a lot more. I know aside from the competition stuff, Sterling, you're a very passionate cook in general, inside, outside, hybrid of both, whatever, getting it mixed up in with the guys over at BJ's and helping them with some recipe development. So what have you been up to from a recipe standpoint that you're really excited about, and maybe you could share with us so we could take a crack at it here over the next couple days?
I got lazy. Okay. I figured, okay, I'm practicing for barbecue all the time, because I still do practice all the time. And it's just, my kids are gone. So it's just my wife and I, little Louie. And, we started doing more delivery and more going out. And, I was rationalizing, well, I cook enough anyway. But I've had so much fun cooking. And I've cooked only a couple times outside. My background is cooking. As my hobby, my whole adult life has been cooking. So, whether it was going through the Italian thing, and like Tuppy Stone and I, we spend most of our time talking about cookbooks and other cooks and very little about barbecue. So it's been really exciting for me to cook other things and also try and show some of the people. So we've been doing a lot more content. I've been filming more content because I think, and it's less competition specific. It's more about lighting a fire outside and trying to create recipes that please people that are pretty easy and accessible. And so I've been doing that. I think I've done 8 videos this month like that, but then I've done, since I self-quarantine, I cook every day and I've got a backlog of stuff, but I know you follow my personal Instagram and see some of the stuff.
Oh, it's all delicious. So, are there, when I talk to folks that are either real foodies like yourself or chefs, they always seem to gravitate towards a certain genre. Do you have, if you just had a bunch of ingredients, do you gravitate towards, one kind of food or the other?
Well, I started by stumbling into a supermarket like when I was like 20 and seeing this paperback Northern Italian cookbook by Biba Gaggiano. And I cooked every recipe in that book twice. And I have, walls of cookbooks, but I now just read them and look at them for inspiration. But really, I haven't cooked a recipe from the book forever. But what's really great is the challenge of iron chefing and pantry cleaning. Like the other day, I had a nice, beautiful Tyson pork tenderloin, and how am I going to cook it? So I went to the pantry. There's very little in the pantry, and there was a jar of Kroger's bacon hot pepper jelly. There was a thing of chicken stock. There was some Dijon mustard and some Granny's. And that became my sweet and spicy bacon glazed pork tenderloin.
Yeah.
Which was really good, by the way. So it's just been fun. It's been everything from skillet tacos to some hearty comfort food. And it's got me more excited about cooking. I'm really looking forward to it, to continuing. So, anytime there's something bad that happens, you try and figure out how you're going to come out of it with a better vision, goal, or way of doing things. I mean, when my son got sick, we raised a lot of money to help other kids get well. In this downturn, that's kind of reinvigorated me. I want to be committed more to teaching and having fun. But listen, Greg, I still love competition barbecue, and I love the process of competition barbecue. So I'm going to do that for probably 3 more years. I've kind of given myself that, and I'm losing a year right now.
Yeah, no doubt. We maybe had our first discussion here on the show, maybe going back 10 years or so. Has it been 10 years since you won the American Royal?
2012, but I think I was on before then. But that's okay. Maybe that's the first time. But it's 2012.
So, I mean, we've been going on a number of years chatting here. So, all the way back then, 10, 11, 12 years ago, competition barbecue looked like X. Fast forward to 2020, competition looks like wherever it is today. What's the biggest change that you've seen in those years?
Well, 10 years ago when I started, you needed a quiet time. Now, a quiet time is kind of dumb because everybody's asleep. Look, the cooking process changed. And, we used to cook overnight. And we used to load the cabinet smoker up and put the pork butts above the brisket and let them drip down on the brisket that cooked all night. And the first king of the smoker, most of the teams cooked low and slow overnight. But hot and fast, people started going to sleep and getting their sleep. The scale of it changed. The amount of room it takes to have a barbecue contest is stifling and not necessarily a positive. The fact that you used to have to provide a generator, but it was the generator that you'd use would be maybe for a light or a boom box. And now when we do the guinea pig, we have some teams that need 76, 80 feet to do the contest. And we're big too, so we're guilty of that. But now, power never works the whole contest. And now you're going to see a situation. Craig, for years I talked about what I saw that could happen bad in barbecue, and I know a lot of people hated me for what I said, or I got all the feedback, but it's kind of happened.
Yep.
It's you got a problem because the basic thing, the cooks aren't particularly objective, and they're participating in something where there's subjectivity in the judging. And maybe inconsistently too. So you have somebody that might not be completely objective, and their hobby is aimed straight at something that's subjective, and it just doesn't. It's kind of a problem.
Yeah. Do you have any thought? We have no idea when we're going to get on the other side of this coronavirus. Obviously, there aren't going to be any barbecue competitions, KCBS, FBA, St. Louis, and/or otherwise for the foreseeable future. But let's assume we get on the other side of this thing beginning of August or end of August. Do you think that there will be a abbreviated competition season? And if so, does that potentially make it, from a high level, more exciting because everybody's going to be a lot closer to each other than they were for the 3 months or 4 months that teams have a chance to run away from a bunch of other people?
I don't see it being August when it kicks in. I'm watching it. There's hot areas, and there's, California, it hasn't developed as they predicted, and a lot of areas. So I really, I don't want to say this stuff and make it sound like I'm not being sensitive to the thing, because it's real and it's horrible.
Yeah.
But 2 weeks, you're going to see a lot of things peak. And, August is a long way off, and I think that's hard to do. And I think there would at least, I don't think it's going to be something where they necessarily turn on the switch. I think that you're going to see gradual relaxation of the shelter in place and some of the stuff. I think that for a long time, until there's a virus, there's going to be social distancing. But I think if it goes to the end of August, it's kind of hard to have a season then.
Yep.
To me. It's just kind of maybe this was a practice. I saw a T-shirt yesterday that says 2020 sucks. I thought that was a pretty good shirt.
Yeah, it's been kind of a bummer year, depending on how you look at it, especially with this thing.
Well, if I end now, I'm third in KCBS.
Yeah, well, hey, always good to be in the top 10, Sterling. No matter what, top 5 too, top 3. How about that?
Yeah. No, it's I want to compete. I want to compete. I want to see the other people that that I enjoy their company, which are quite a bit of them. And, you know, I like cooking I like cooking breakfast at barbecue contests, the dinner before. I hate the awards. As you know, I don't go.
Yeah.
So, no, I miss it. I think everybody really misses. I think, you know, what's happened in California is there's fewer contests, but we've had high team counts. I mean, other than maybe Yuma, Arizona, which was a first-time contest, we've had big fields. People want to cook, and you know, one of the things, instead of looking at competition barbecue as doing so poorly, we might have had too many contests there for a while. Okay, because I tracked the contests over the last 10 years, and probably fewer contests isn't a bad thing, and doesn't necessarily mean competition barbecue's dying, but you know, it certainly needs help. We need to take some bold steps. I think we need to get rid of power. I think it's the single most expensive thing a promoter does. And we pioneered that with the guinea pig, and it really needs to go to the cook's pockets. But, you know, I think fewer contests. I mean, we don't have a problem filling fields here. And I bet you most places won't now that there's fewer contests.
So maybe addition by subtraction.
Well, yeah, maybe it expanded too much. You know, Chad, I was listening earlier, Chad said something great about contests too, is that as a business, it's a 3-year deal. And, you know, he said, because you're buying things and stuff, you're really learning how to do it. You're learning your market. But one of the problems and expectations is you have people who aren't event managers or producers, and they put on a contest for a charity or whatever. And it's just like a startup. The first year of the startup isn't going to make money. And I think we got to do a better job of providing them with ideas and training and keeping them from making some of those mistakes, but explaining to them that it's really a 3-year process. But too many contests are one and done, I think, because their expectations are that it should make money from day one, and that's sort of hard to find this day.
Sterling, I'm going to ask you a potentially abrasive question. Are you the cook for Big Papa Smokers, or is it really James the Flame?
Yeah, you know, that's really it frustrates James. It frustrates me, but you know, it's kind of good for me too, because it's really a hater thing. And if you see my shirt or my apron, you know I cooked it. I think the thing people got to realize, James, my partner, but James is an employee. James is an employee of Big Papa Smokers. If James wasn't being paid, he would not be there. James doesn't particularly like it. He likes cooking with me. But, I mean, seriously, it's okay. They can say that. But, I mean, James wasn't with me when I won the Royal. Jody was. I won several times with them. I love James. James has made me a better cook.
Yeah.
But I just love everybody looks for an excuse to sell you short. And, you know, I got 30 to 40 items with Scott Rodriguez and BJ's, and James wasn't there. And, you know, and James worries that it's going to affect his job. And it's not, because I love James Perez. James Perez was a truck driver that drove for the Vans Warped Tour for me. When the guys on the team quit because they had babies, I went to HR. I said, "Who can I use to drive the truck?" And they said, "Anybody but James." I said, have James be there at noon and be ready to go. And James was supposed to just disappear, but James took notes. And so I showed up the next contest, and he had things set up for me. I said, "This is cool." So, "James, you know how to cook?" He goes, "Never cooked anything in my life." I said, "Okay, well, I'll teach you how to cook chicken." So that's how it started.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, look, and I take that all the time. I mean, and
so if he leaves, he's not going to start James the Flame barbecue competition team. He's not into it like that.
Well, I don't think so. Jaime Grande Barbacoa. That's the Hispanic James team. I made t-shirts to say that. Look, it's not that big a deal. It's just something, you know. And the funny thing though is to hear somebody come up to me and be really nice to me, say, "Man, I really need help with my ribs," and I tell them, and then I see on Facebook them congratulating James, you know, for the good cook, and you know, a little dig. So I think that's funny. James does too.
So where do you see, or do you hope your contest total will be at the end of the year? Are you still shooting like at 10 or 15? I know you said you were thinking you would be down.
I try and do 25, and I couldn't get 16 before this happened.
Yeah.
And so I really don't know. I mean, I think I got 5. And I'd be surprised if I get more than 7 or 8. I mean, that's if it opens up in June or July. There's no place to cook out here.
For the folks that are interested in looking at you cook, is there what can I just go like bigpapasmokers.com and you're posting content there, or is it somewhere else, or do you have a multiple channels?
And also I have a blog called cookingwithbigpapa.com, POPPA, and the Sterling Big Papa Ball page. It's funny, that's one I use for guitar and music. I only have one personal social media outlet, and that's Instagram. But so a lot of people will send me a friend request personally, and I think I have 200 people following me, which is too many.
199 too many. Not everybody.
You're out.
Already? Jeez.
No, I love you, Greg.
Yeah.
Look, I think people don't know. We talk all the time, though. I mean, we have our own little Barbecue Central shows.
Yeah, those are like I always tell people, if you're on YouTube watching the show, there's a chat going. Like that's the show within the show. 50% of the time they're giving me feedback on the show, but 50% of the time they're not talking about anything that's happening on the show. They have their own little show going. That's like our phone calls offline. It's a whole different show that's happening from the show that's happening here.
Hey, how good a job is Emily doing? She got the national championship with the title sponsor, Smithfield.
Yeah, Smithfield back. I mean, that's kind of a coup in its own from how I understand it was, how it was being handled prior to her getting on there.
Well, I don't know. I don't want to talk about that except for I'm seeing KCBS post a lot of good content highlighting different cooks that wouldn't, then that never happened. I think that there's been a lot of controversy, a lot of red tape. I think the thing is wrecked, but I think things are getting better, and I know that there's going to be some more announcements. But I think judging is going to get better. I think that I think the contests are going to get better. I think we should plan on fewer of them. We shouldn't be afraid of making some changes. And I also think cooks really need to be nicer. And I see this all the time on social media. You look at people that are really cooking from their heart and just cooking food, and on Instagram, like Derek in Nashville has over 1 million followers, and Sasquatch I think is 400,000, and they're cooking for the joy of cooking, and they're cooking stuff that's relatable, and they're friendly, and they're helpful. And I think we might have missed a little bit of when the bright light and the pitmaster effect was on us. I think we could have made more of it, made it last a little longer.
Yeah. Anything else happening in the short term before I let you go?
Well, I'm going to probably put shoes on tomorrow. I'm going to try and go to the supermarket for the first time.
Oh dear.
I mean, I'm locked down.
Can't you get on your app and have that waiting for you? You're not going to go in the store, right?
Well, Instacart's striking, and I want to strike them because I get bags that, we ordered some and see, was I like on LSD when I placed this order, or did this person just put anything in the bag and dump it off? So we haven't gotten an order that's even close to right. So I'm learning how to cook with things I've never cooked before.
Well, I mean, that's, silver linings always here on this show. I'm getting people I haven't been able to get in years. And, if you're not getting the groceries you ordered, you're still able to create, perhaps be a little bit more creative than you thought you were going to have to be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, listen, it's fun. Greg, you made a pivot with your show. You went less competition and more
backyard,
live fire outdoor.
Yeah,
a pivot, and I think that's what we did as a store too. And I think that's why we were up pretty significantly last year, and it was from outdoor cooks, which is cool.
All right, so find Sterling everywhere on social media, bigpapasmokers.com, of course, the main website. Get all your stuff there. You're fully stocked, and you're fully open, and you're ready to fulfill orders ASAP, correct?
Absolutely. Well, right now there's a delay because all of America's commerce is online. But, yeah, we're shipping the orders, as soon as we can, which is, within a day, maybe two. So, but yeah, we are open, and we do have a lot of cool stuff going on.
All right, and check out his cooking videos too. Yeah, I mean it's they're really good, great recipes, and ones that the whole family's gonna like. He's one of the most prolific pitmasters in the past 10 years, a world champion and longtime sponsor of this show. It's Sterling Ball. Sterling, always appreciate the time.
Thank you, Greg. Wash your hands.
I will. Keep proper social distance, for crying out loud. Got to do that. Got to keep the proper social distance. All right. We We are a little behind. That's all right. Again, his website is bigpapasmokers.com, but you knew that because I read it going into that segment. And everything is available. They're open. They're ready for business. All that. And we're back to wrap up right after this. Stick around.
Whole packers, full racks, legs and thighs, injecting butts. If you've never heard this before, you might think you found the best XXX show ever. Let's get back to the most homoerotic host out there today, Greg Rempe.
All right, we are closing it out here. Thanks again to Sterling for joining me last segment. And as I say, if you are just interested in cooking in general, go ahead and check him out. BigPapaSmokers.com or CookingWithBigPapa.com is the website to go. See what recipes he's up to. Thanks for hanging with me a little bit later than normal, about 5 minutes. Don't forget, sign up for the Smoke Sheet, a free weekly newsletter that keeps you in the know on everything happening in the barbecue world, as told to us by Sean Ludwig a couple segments ago. BBQNewsletter.com to do that, a great all-in-one resource covering the live fire industry. All the way back in the first hour, we talked with Chad Ward from Traeger Grills, TraegerGrills.com, Whiskey Bent Barbecue, and the Whiskey Bent Barbecue Supply Store down there in Florida. Second hour, Sean Ludwig from the Smoke Sheet, and wrapping it up with Sterling Ball. Next week, Malcolm Reed locked in. Sam the Cooking Guy locked in. Mike Lang, Another Pint Please, locked in, making his reappearance on the show. Plenty more after that. I will have our embedded correspondents that have moved on to round 2 of the American Idol Barbecue Central Show edition reveal their songs. And we are locked. September 11th, 2001. I will never forget. Until next Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, this is your program host and proud U.S. American Greg Rempe. Good night now.